The parched journey. The sun hung mercilessly in the sky, casting its relentless glare upon the cracked earth below. Waves of heat distorted the horizon, creating illusions of distant lakes that vanished upon approach. Amidst this unforgiving landscape trudged Selene, her once vibrant attire now dulled by layers of dust and sweat. Each step was a testament to her willpower. The leather pouch at her side, which once sloshed with life-sustaining water, now lay flat and empty. Her throat burned with a dryness that no amount of swallowing could alleviate, and her lips were cracked, bleeding in places where the sun had been particularly cruel. Memories of verdant fields and flowing rivers haunted her mind, remnants of a world that had succumbed to drought and decay. The great cities had fallen, their towering structures reduced to skeletal remains, overtaken by sand and time. Communities had scattered, with survivors forming nomadic tribes or choosing solitary paths like Selene. Rumors had reached her ears of an oasis, a hidden sanctuary where water flowed and life thrived. It was this whisper of hope that propelled her forward, even as her body screamed for respite. She had mapped out a course based on fragmented tailies and half-forgotten landmarks, but the desert was a master of deception, and she often found herself retracing steps or veering off path. As the day wore on, Selene's vision blurred and her limbs grew heavier. She stumbled over unseen obstacles, each fall draining more of her dwindling energy. The sun dipped lower, casting elongated shadows that offered no comfort. With the onset of dusk, the temperature plummeted and the desert's chill began to seep into her bones. Desperation clawed at her heart. She knew that without water, she wouldn't last another day. Her mind drifted to the canteens of the travelers she'd encountered days prior, their suspicious glances and tightened grips on their belongings a clear indication that charity was a luxury few could afford. She didn't blame them. Survival bred selfishness. As night enveloped the desert, Selene sought shelter beneath a rocky overhang. She curled into herself, attempting to conserve warmth, but sleep eluded her. The gnawing thirst and the distant howls of nocturnal predators kept her alert. She clutched the empty pouch to her chest, a futile comfort in the face of impending demise. With the first light of dawn, Selene forced herself to her feet. Every movement was agony, her muscles protesting after the previous day's exertion. She pressed on, driven by a stubborn refusal to succumb without a fight. Hours blurred together as she moved through the desolate expanse, her mind a haze of exhaustion and hallucination. It was midday when her body finally betrayed her. Her knees buckled and she collapsed onto the scorching sand. She tried to rise, but her limbs refused to cooperate. The world spun around her and darkness edged into her vision. As consciousness slipped away, her last thought was a silent plea to whatever forces might be listening. Mercy. Encounter in the dunes. The sun's relentless glare bore down upon the vast expanse of the desert, casting shimmering waves that distorted the horizon. Amidst this unforgiving landscape, a lone figure trudged forward, each step a testament to sheer willpower. Selene's vision blurred as dehydration tightened its grip, her parched throat a constant reminder of her dwindling time. As she pressed on, the weight of exhaustion became unbearable. Her knees buckled and she collapsed onto the scorching sand, grains searing her exposed skin. The world around her dimmed, the edges of her consciousness fraying. Just as darkness threatened to consume her, a shadow loomed over her prone form. "Hey, can you hear me?" A deep voice resonated, tinged with concern. Strong hands gently lifted her, cradling her with unexpected tenderness. Selene's eyelids fluttered open, revealing a face weathered by the sun, eyes a piercing shade of green that seemed to see through her very soul. "Water," she croaked, her voice barely a whisper. Without hesitation, the stranger produced a canteen, tilting it to her cracked lips. Cool liquid cascaded into her mouth, a sensation so foreign yet so desperately needed. She gulped greedily, the water reviving her parched body. "Easy now," he cautioned, pulling the canteen back. "Too much at once can be harmful." Selene nodded weakly, gratitude shimmering in her eyes. "Thank you," she managed, her voice hoarse but sincere. The man offered a reassuring smile. "Name's Darius. What brings you out here alone?" "Searching for the oasis," she replied, each word a laborious effort. Darius's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. "You're not far," he said, glancing toward the distant dunes. "Come, my shelter is nearby, you can rest there." With Darius's support, Selene rose unsteadily to her feet. Each step was a challenge, but with his steadying presence, they made their way across the undulating sands. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at a modest encampment nestled between two towering dunes. The shelter was simple yet sturdy, constructed from salvaged materials and designed to withstand the desert's harsh conditions. Inside, the air was noticeably cooler, offering a respite from the oppressive heat. Darius guided Selene to a makeshift bed, where she sank down gratefully. "Rest here," Darius instructed, handing her a small bowl of broth. "Sip this slowly, it'll help replenish your strength." Selene accepted the offering, the warm liquid soothing her parched throat and invigorating her weary body. As she sipped, she observed Darius moving with practiced efficiency, tending to various tasks around the shelter. "Why are you out here alone?" she inquired, her curiosity piqued despite her fatigue. Darius paused, a distant look in his eyes. "I could ask you the same," he replied, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "But let's save stories for when you're stronger." Selene nodded, understanding the unspoken agreement. For now, survival took precedence over explanations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in hues of orange and purple, Selene allowed herself to drift into a deep, restorative sleep, the first she'd had in what felt like an eternity. BuzzFeed. In the heart of the unforgiving desert, amidst the shifting sands and relentless sun, two strangers had crossed paths. And in that fleeting moment, kindness had bridged the chasm of solitude, offering a glimmer of hope in a world that had long forgotten its meaning. The hidden refuge. The desert's vast expanse stretched endlessly, a sea of golden dunes under the relentless sun. As the horizon shimmered with heat, Darius guided Selene through the undulating terrain, his steps confident and purposeful. Selene, though still weak from her ordeal, felt a renewed sense of hope with each step she took beside her unexpected savior. After what felt like hours, they approached a seemingly unremarkable rock formation nestled between two towering dunes. Darius paused, glancing around to ensure they were alone, then pressed his hand against a particular section of the rock. With a soft rumble, a concealed entrance revealed itself, leading into the cool darkness beyond. "Welcome to our sanctuary," Darius said, his voice echoing slightly as they stepped inside. The passageway descended gently, illuminated by bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls, casting a soft, ethereal glow. The air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of earth and moisture, a stark contrast to the arid world above. As they emerged into a vast cavern, Selene's breath caught in her throat. Before her lay an underground oasis, a crystalline lake reflecting the luminescent ceiling, verdant patches of cultivated crops, and clusters of makeshift dwellings constructed from salvaged materials. The sound of gentle chatter and laughter filled the air as inhabitants went about their daily routines. "This is incredible," Selene whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Darius smiled, pride evident in his expression. "We've worked hard to create a sustainable refuge away from the chaos above. Here, we live in harmony, sharing resources and knowledge to ensure our survival." As they walked along the lake's edge, various members of the community approached, their faces reflecting curiosity and warmth. Darius introduced Selene to a few. Nico, a young engineer who had devised the cavern's irrigation system, ensuring that the crops received adequate water from the underground lake. Lyra, a former teacher who now oversaw the education of the community's children, emphasizing the importance of preserving knowledge for future generations. Tomas, an elderly herbalist who cultivated medicinal plants, providing remedies for various ailments. Each individual greeted Selene with kindness, making her feel an immediate sense of belonging. Darius led her to a modest dwelling near the lake. "You can rest here," he offered. "Take all the time you need to recover. When you're ready, there are plenty of ways you can contribute to our community." Over the following days, Selene marveled at the ingenuity and resilience of the sanctuary's inhabitants. The underground lake provided not only water but also fish, supplementing their diet. Solar panels, ingeniously positioned at concealed openings above ground, harnessed energy to power essential devices and lighting. Eager to contribute, Selene approached Lyra. "I used to work with textiles," she shared. "Perhaps I can assist in creating clothing or repairing fabrics." Lyra's eyes lit up. "That would be wonderful. We've been making do with what we have, but fresh skills are always welcome." As days turned into weeks, Selene found herself weaving fabrics from plant fibers cultivated within the cavern. She taught others the art of sewing and mending, ensuring that the community had durable clothing suited for both the cool underground environment and the harsh desert above. One evening, as the community gathered around a communal fire, sharing stories and songs, Selene sat beside Darius. The flickering light cast shadows across his face, highlighting the depth in his green eyes. "Darius," she began hesitantly, "what led you to create this sanctuary?" He gazed into the flames, a distant look in his eyes. "After the collapse, I wandered for years, witnessing the worst of humanity, greed, violence, despair. But amidst the darkness, I also saw glimpses of hope, acts of kindness that defied the chaos. I realized that survival wasn't just about enduring, but about building something better. So I sought out like-minded individuals, and together we carved out this refuge." Selene nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "It's remarkable what you've all achieved here. I'm grateful to be a part of it." He turned to her, a soft smile playing on his lips. "And we're grateful to have you. Every new member brings fresh perspectives and skills, strengthening our community." As the night deepened, Selene felt a profound sense of peace. For the first time in years, she wasn't merely surviving. She was truly living, surrounded by individuals who embodied the very essence of humanity's resilience and compassion. Whispers of the past. As the days unfolded within the sanctuary, Selene found herself increasingly drawn to Darius. His leadership was marked not by authority, but by a genuine care for each member of the community. One evening, as the cavern was bathed in the soft luminescence of the bioluminescent fungi, Selene approached him by the underground lake. "Darius," she began, her voice gentle yet inquisitive, "you've created something remarkable here, but I sense there's more to your story. What led you to establish this refuge?" Darius gazed into the shimmering waters, his reflection rippling with the gentle movements of the lake. "It's a tale interwoven with loss and hope," he admitted. He took a deep breath, as if summoning memories long buried. "Before the world unraveled, I had a family, a wife named Lyra and a daughter, Emilia. We lived in a small village on the outskirts of the city. Life was simple, but it was ours." Selene listened intently, sensing the weight of his words. "When the collapse began," Darius continued, "our village was one of the first to be affected. Resources became scarce and desperation drove people to unthinkable acts. One night, a group of marauders raided our home. I tried to fend them off, but I was outnumbered." His voice faltered, emotion threatening to break through his composed demeanor. "Lyra urged me to take Emilia and flee while she tried to distract them. I hesitated, but she was adamant. I grabbed Emilia and ran into the night, her cries echoing in my ears." Selene placed a comforting hand on Darius's arm, grounding him in the present. "We hid in the wilderness for days," he continued, "but Emilia was young and fragile. The lack of food and clean water took its toll. She grew weaker with each passing day." A tear traced a path down his weathered cheek. "One morning, I woke to find her cold and lifeless in my arms. I buried her beneath an old oak tree, marking the spot with a simple stone." The cavern's usual ambient sounds seemed to hush, as if honoring his sorrow. "I wandered aimlessly after that," Darius admitted. "The weight of guilt and grief was unbearable, but during my wanderings, I encountered others who had suffered similar losses. We shared our stories, our pain, and found solace in each other's company." He gestured around the cavern. "Together, we decided to create a place where others could find refuge, a sanctuary free from the chaos above, a place where no one would have to endure the pain we had experienced." Selene felt a deep connection to Darius's story, her own past mirroring his in many ways. "Your journey," she said softly, "it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Turning profound loss into a beacon of hope for others is truly inspiring." Darius met her gaze, a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. "It's the collective strength of everyone here that makes this place what it is. Each person brings their own story, their own pain, and together we heal." As the evening deepened, Selene and Darius sat in companionable silence, the gentle lapping of the lake's waters providing a soothing backdrop. In the heart of the earth, amidst shadows and light, two souls found a shared understanding, their pasts intertwining to forge a path forward. Echoes of the past. Life within the sanctuary had settled into a comforting rhythm for Selene. She had found purpose in her work, mending and creating garments, and had formed bonds with many of the inhabitants. Yet, amidst the daily routines, a lingering curiosity about Darius's past continued to tug at her thoughts. One evening, as the community gathered around the communal fire, an elderly woman named Marin began to speak. Her voice, though aged, carried a strength that commanded attention. Many of us have found refuge here, escaping the turmoil of the world above. But it's essential to remember the journeys that brought us together, to honor the memories of those we've lost. The group nodded in agreement, the flickering flames casting shadows that danced across their faces. Later that night, Selene found herself unable to sleep. The cavern's ceiling, illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent fungi, seemed to mirror the starry skies she once admired. Deciding to clear her mind, she took a walk along the lake's edge. As she approached a secluded alcove, she noticed Darius sitting alone, gazing into the water. His reflection wavered with the gentle ripples, mirroring the turmoil she sensed within him. "Darius," she called softly. He turned, a faint smile gracing his lips. Selene couldn't sleep. She shook her head, settling beside him. "Marin's words tonight, they made me reflect on my own past. I realized there's so much about you that remains a mystery. Would you be willing to share more about your journey?" Darius sighed, his gaze returning to the lake. "There are memories that are difficult to revisit, but perhaps it's time." He took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. "After losing Emilia, I wandered aimlessly, the weight of grief nearly consuming me. One evening, while seeking shelter in the remnants of an old library, I stumbled upon a group of survivors. They were huddled around a dim lantern, sharing stories to keep their spirits alive." He paused, a distant look in his eyes. Among them was a man named Ronan. He had once been a historian and believed that preserving our past was key to rebuilding our future. He introduced me to the concept of oral legacies, passing down histories through storytelling. It was through him that I understood the importance of remembering and sharing our experiences. Selene listened intently, absorbing every word. "Ronan and I traveled together for a time, gathering others who sought solace and purpose. We dreamed of creating a place where knowledge and memories could be safeguarded, where people could heal and find community. That dream eventually led us to this cavern." "What happened to Ronan?" Selene inquired gently. Darius's expression grew somber. "He fell ill during our journey here. Despite our efforts, we couldn't save him, but his vision lives on in this sanctuary." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the past settling between them. "Thank you for sharing this with me, Darius. It helps me understand the foundation of this place and the depth of your dedication." He met her gaze, gratitude evident in his eyes. "It's the collective stories and efforts of everyone here that make this sanctuary what it is, and now you're a part of that tapestry." As they parted ways for the night, Selene felt a deeper connection to the sanctuary and its inhabitants. She realized that while the past held pain, it also paved the way for hope and renewal. A new dawn. As the seasons shifted, so too did the dynamics within the sanctuary. The community, once a collection of individuals bound by shared hardship, had evolved into a cohesive family. Yet beneath the surface of unity, subtle tensions began to emerge. The challenge of leadership. Darius, whose vision had birthed the sanctuary, found himself grappling with the weight of leadership. While his decisions were respected, the burden of always being the guiding force began to take its toll. One evening, he confided in Selene. "Selene," he began, his voice tinged with fatigue, "I never anticipated how exhausting it would be to always have the answers, to be the pillar everyone leans on." Selene nodded, understanding the unspoken plea for support. "Perhaps it's time to share the mantle, to distribute responsibilities." Draftspark sparkles. The emergence of new leaders. Inspired by their conversation, Selene proposed the idea of forming a council, a group representing various facets of the community. This council would not only alleviate the pressure on Darius, but also empower others, fostering a sense of ownership and belonging. Council members were chosen based on their skills and contributions. Reddit. Leon, a former teacher, became the head of education, ensuring that knowledge was passed down and skills were taught. Nina, a skilled healer, took charge of health and wellness, integrating traditional remedies with newfound practices. Omar, a resourceful builder, led infrastructure projects, focusing on sustainable living. Leela, a compassionate listener, was appointed as the community liaison, addressing concerns and fostering unity. This council, with Darius as an honorary member, met regularly to discuss challenges, celebrate successes, and plan for the future. The distribution of leadership not only lightened the collective load, but also enriched the community's fabric. Embracing change. As the community adapted to this new structure, they encountered external challenges. A severe drought threatened their water supply, testing their resilience. However, with diversified leadership, they approached the crisis methodically. Nina organized water conservation workshops, teaching efficient usage and storage. Omar spearheaded the construction of rainwater harvesting systems. Leon adapted educational materials to emphasize environmental stewardship. Leela coordinated efforts, ensuring that every voice was heard and every concern addressed. Their unified approach not only mitigated the immediate threat, but also strengthened their bonds, proving that shared leadership and collective effort could overcome adversity. A vision for the future. With each passing day, the sanctuary transformed. It became a beacon of hope, illustrating that even in the darkest times, humanity's spirit could rebuild and flourish. Darius, once burdened by solitary leadership, now stood alongside his fellow council members, proud of the community they had become. And so, under the guidance of many hands and hearts, the sanctuary continued to thrive, a testament to the strength found in unity and shared purpose.